Welcome back, heroes. Today, we're diving into something special for both game masters and players alike. Have you ever imagined leading an entire spectral orchestra into battle, or harnessing the power of raw electricity in an industrialized fantasy city? Well, get ready to do that because we are introducing the first set of new subclasses from our upcoming adventure setting, Lothburgh. Let's dive right in. First up, we have our bardic subclass, the College of the Maestro. Now, music has always been at the core of who a bard is, but the scope of that music is usually very personal. A single musician with a single instrument. College of the Maestro bards, however, command an entire orchestra of spectral instruments to help your friends or hinder your enemies. At third level, you gain the ability to craft a conductor's baton and conduct the grand performance, where your spectral orchestra performs one of a variety of songs. The Anthem of Alacrity, the Ballad of Bravery, and the Fanfare of Fervor serve to boost your allies' abilities, while the Concerto of Captivation, the Melody of Madness, and the Symphony of Sorrow cripple your enemies. At 6th level, you can use your bardic inspiration and your reaction to alter the tempo of your song to grant advantage and disadvantage on saving throws made within 60 feet of you. And at 14th level, you gain the Grand Finale ability. Once per long rest, whenever your grand performance ends, you can wrap it all up in a mind-blowing finale. Allies within 60 feet gain a use of bardic inspiration and regain 4d10 hit points. Enemies, on the other hand, make a Constitution save, and on a failure they take 8d10 thunder damage and become deafened by the cacophony of the swelling music. Next, we have our Artificer subclass, the Galvanist. Mechanics and engineering have always been the bedrock of the Artificer subclass, so it seems only natural that we introduce electricity into the mix, especially given the industrialized nature of our Lothburgh campaign setting, where electricity is fairly new, but very common. As a galvanist, you learn how to harness the power of lightning inside arcane batteries. These batteries are used to grant temporary life to arcane devices, create dangerous electrical discharges, and even disrupt mechanical constructs. At third level, you learn how to fill your arcane batteries with excess energy from lightning spells and incoming attacks. Also at third level, you can use an action and an arcane battery to charge up a clockwork device that you've prepared. These are things like boots that let you dash as a bonus action, or a drill that you can use on locks or walls, gloves that make you stronger, or telescopic goggles, and even a pair of wings. At 5th level, you can turn arcane batteries into grenades, charge it up, throw it, and any creature within 15 feet of the explosion is subject to a dexterity save. Failure means taking 46 lightning damage, so this is one heck of an AoE ability for enemies that are bunched together. When you reach 9th level, mechanical constructs, of which there are a lot in Lothburgh, better watch out. You can discharge one or more of your batteries to disrupt the inner workings of constructs, anything from blinding them to sending them into a mindless rampage. And lastly, because you have been shocked so much, at 15th level you gain outright resistance to all lightning damage, along with a couple of other goodies that you can find on the written version over on Patreon. Alright, so we've gone over 2 of our 4 subclasses for the Lothburgh campaign setting, but what the heck is Lothburgh anyways? Simply put, Lothburgh is a neo-noir gothic steampunk metropolis with one hell of a vampire problem. Think Victorian London in the throes of industrialization while in the ice-cold grip of late-stage capitalism. It's a sprawling urban setting where technology and magic intertwine, and every corner hides a mystery. Your players are encouraged to take on the role of private investigators who can become the heroes that the city desperately needs. These new subclasses that we've come out with fit seamlessly into the setting of Lothburgh. My own group is having an absolute blast with them, and I think you will too. We are building Lothburgh brick by brick, and we're releasing it all on Patreon for you to download and enjoy in written format for just as little as $1. It's also going to be the subject of our next book and a big old campaign adventure, but the details of that are just going to have to wait. In the meantime, here's the next subclass in this release. Here we've got something for our gun-loving players, our Warlock subclass, the Hex Slinger. With Lothburgh being an industrialized city, it makes sense that something like gunpowder is fairly common and, by extension, guns. Sure, not everybody on the streets is packing heat, but guns are definitely a common sight and a common danger. Enter the Hex Slinger, a subclass that has made a pact with a trigger-happy patron and at first level has been bestowed with a special firearm, the Hex Pistol. This 6-shooter is etched with glowing runes and can only be fired by you using your charisma or dexterity modifier. Quick anecdote, my group contains a Hex Slinger. They were assaulting a tower and they climbed up on the outside. They planned a whole approach and they had one of their other players inside the tower distracting the bad guy. Then the Hex Slinger swings in through the outside window, crashes to the floor, draws his gun, fires at the bad guy. One crit and an amazing damage roll later, and the bad guy had absolutely no head, and the entire encounter was finished with a single bullet because none of the other cronies wanted to deal with the Hex Slinger. Now, the Hex Slingers, as their name might imply, can imbue their ammunition with one attack spell that you know using an ability called Hex Shot. With Hex Shot, if your next shot hits the target, that target takes not only damage from the bullet, but also from the spell that you imbued into the ammunition. By 6th level, you've impressed your patrons so much that they've granted you access to a larger arsenal of weaponry. After a long rest, you can transmute your Hex Pistol into a musket, a rifle, a shotgun, or even a sniper rifle. Trust me, there's nothing quite like picking off your DM's encounter enemies from 600 feet away with magical bullets. At 10th level, you regain a use of your Hex Shot ability if you don't have one left the next time you enter combat. Additionally, you can magically conjure up ammunition for your guns, so there's no need to stop at the ammo store before your next adventure. Finally, at 14th level, Hex Slingers gain the Brutal Shots feature. Here, you score a critical hit on an attack roll of 19 to 20, and the critical even applies to the spell damage of your Hex Shot. Additionally, if the spell in your Hex Shot requires a saving throw, the target makes that save with disadvantage. On top of all of that, once per long rest, the Hex Slinger's patron will let them transmute the gun in the heat of battle as a bonus action. Can you imagine having somebody point a pistol in your face and then see that thing transform into a shotgun? Last up, we've got our fighter subclass, the Pugilist. Whether you've honed your skills in the underground boxing circuit, worked as a heavy-handed enforcer, or just threw hands on the rough street of Lothburgh slums, one thing is clear: the Pugilist knows how to beat someone's ass. At 3rd level, you get to pick a fighting style: heavyweight, lightweight, or street fighter. The style that you pick determines the abilities that you get at level 3, 7, 10, and 15. It also determines the formula for your saving throw that you impose on creatures you attack. At 3rd level, you heavyweights can add half your strength modifier to your attack rolls and have incoming damage a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Lightweights, well, you can have your unarmed strikes count as finesse weapons, and you can use your reaction to move out of harm's way without provoking opportunity attacks. You street fighters can gain proficiency in improvised weapons, which also count as finesse weapons, and on top of that, you can use your bonus action to make an unarmed strike while using that improvised weapon. At 7th level, you get the "is that all you got?" feature, which affects what happens after you use your second wind ability. You heavyweights unleash a devastating uppercut that can daze and incapacitate your target. You lightweights, you unleash a flurry of blows, and you make an extra unarmed strike against the target. You street fighters, on the other hand, scrappers that you are, make use of some pocket sand in an attempt to blind a foe within 10 feet of you. Now at 10th level, you gain the Fists of Steel feature that lets you ignore bludgeoning resistance on your targets. In addition, heavyweights, you guys deal 2d6 damage with your unarmed strikes if you're using a shield, and 2d8 if you aren't. You lightweights make an additional unarmed strike and dart away without provoking opportunity attacks if you land a hit. Street fighters, well, you learn to incorporate knives into the mix, and as long as you're carrying a knife, you can deal an additional 1d4 damage when you make an unarmed strike. At 15th level, Pugilists gain the Heart of a Champion feature, which triggers after you use your Action Surge. Heavyweights, you guys fire off one massive punch that deals an additional 6d8 bludgeoning damage on a target who must succeed on a con save or be stunned. Lightweights, with your lightning fists, you can just keep punching and punching and punching a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, or until you miss. Then the Street Fighter Ever the Terror. You can use an improvised weapon or a dagger to attack the weak spot of an enemy and deal an additional 4d8 damage and force a Constitution save. If the target fails the save, they start to bleed and take 2d8 damage at the start of their next turn. And to cap it all off, at 18th level, you get to pick a second boxing style. From then on, whenever you make an unarmed strike, or you use your second wind or action surge abilities, you can decide which fighting style you want to use. If you want access to these subclasses in written form or just want to learn more about Lothburgh, head on over to the Lunch Break Heroes Patreon today and check it all out. Or you can just click subscribe right down there, or check out one of these nifty videos.